So Al Sharpton is now speaking out about a new report on the shooting death of Michael Brown. The report's saying that there's evidence that backs up claims made by Ferguson, Missouri police officer Darren Wilson. Wilson had told investigators that he was being pinned down in his car and that he and Michael Brown both struggled for his weapon before he opened fire. Al Sharpton says he does not buy this testimony.
Now we are being told that Officer Wilson is saying that he shot because he was in fear of his life, that there was a scuffle in the police vehicle, and he shot because he feared for his life. The only gun there was Darren Wilson's.
Scottie Nell Hughes is the news director for Tea Party News Network. Julie Roginski is a former political advisor to Democratic Senator Frank Lautenberg and a Fox News contributor. Welcome to both of you. This case has been very painful, of course, for the people of Ferguson, Missouri, and more details continue to come out. We don't know how this information leaked out. It says government officials were the source for this New York Times story, but it does put the sequence of events in a slightly different light, Julie.
It does. You know, what's troubling to me is not so much what they're saying, but the fact that they're saying anything at all. You're having very selective testimony leaking from the grand jury. We're not sure why it's being leaked. We're not sure who's leaking it. Government officials, perhaps, in order to lay the groundwork for potentially not indicting the police officer. But, you know, what's more troubling to me is that we have the sanctity of the grand jury being violated. That's absolutely inappropriate, and the people of Ferguson on both sides should be rightfully outraged about that.
I think everybody could agree on that. But you also have to go back to the fact that some people would say that happened at the very beginning of this case, and it came from the highest officials in the land. When Eric Holder went there and said that he understood why the people would be mistrustful of the police. So the tone may have been set wrongly from the top of this administration on day one. Scottie Nell.
No, completely. And you have to sit there and look at what Reverend Al Sharpton just said. How does that help race relations within the United States today? How has this whole thing helped? From the very beginning, we did not know exactly what happened with those events in the car. We had heard both sides of the story, but we didn't know what was going on. And yet you have Reverend Al Sharpton, you have Eric Holder, you have every single, civil rights leader in there screaming that the police were horrible and that this was the problem of the police. Whatever happened to being called innocent until proven guilty? And Eric Holder did not help the situation and put the national spotlight on it. Nothing good can come out of this when this could have been a great teaching situation for our entire country.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that, when you look at the forensics of this case, which I haven't seen, no one has seen, but there's a question about when those, when the gun went off in the car. There are eyewitnesses who say that the officer hit them with the car door and that was how all of this started, and that then he reached out and grabbed Michael Brown into the car. And then you have this very different version of events that he lunged into the car. We don't know what happened, but the point is that it hasn't, from the beginning, Julie, the tone has not been set that we have to wait until all the facts come out in this case. Has it been fair to this police officer?
Well, no, it hasn't been fair, but I'll also say this, and this is not a controversial statement I'm about to make, but I'm sure people will find it controversial anyway. None of the three of us who have children have to worry about their kids, their sons, walking down the street and being targeted by the police because our kids are white. And I will say right now that people who are black have a total... No, it is absolutely true. If you don't think that black kids today have it harder just walking down the street while black across this country, I think you're being naive about it.
Here's the problem with that, Julie. You cannot take an isolated case and say that it has to stand for greater societal ills. You must take the case and look at what happened, because that is exactly the problem here. We've extrapolated from this case and become emotional about it and put all kinds of emotions and feelings about injustice onto this case. But that is not fair to this police officer because we don't yet know what happened.
Martha, you're absolutely right. In the case of the grand jury, in the case of the law, you're absolutely right. In the case of the community who've had to see their kids targeted across the country because they've been walking down the street while black, I understand where the emotion is. I understand where it's coming from.
The facts come out that show that the police officer acted right and he was actually assaulted by Michael Brown. If that comes out and that's the truth, this actually works in reverse of that, because now police officers are going to say, wait a minute, we can be attacked. They're going to be more on guard. This does not help the situation. They're going to be more likely to profile now, going, wait a minute, is he going to attack me before I attack them? This does not help the situation. And I truly believe this is a fault of Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, all of those folks that have come in here and sensationalized this and capitalized it for their own purposes.
If you don't think profiling happens in this country towards African
It happens towards everybody, though.
No,
it's
it
not.
doesn't.
I mean,
It does
we have a
not
race
happen
issue, but we
towards-
also have other issues
Oh,
as
stop
well.
it. A little white blonde kid is not going to be targeted and profiled the same way an African-American boy will. Come on.
But you think that they're perfectly safe. My son walking down certain neighborhoods might not be safe as well.
Nobody's perfectly safe walking down certain
Okay, so
neighborhoods.
then
Exactly.
sit here.
But you can't
this doesn't
say-
help.
Yeah, but
You
I'll say
can't-
again that Darren Wilson also deserves to have
Agreed.
his
Exactly.
innocence protected
Agreed.
until proven guilty. His family has also been put up.
Agreed.
Again, you know, he's representing now all of the societal ills in this area and everything that may have happened in the past in Ferguson, and that is also not fair. And that is what needs to be the measure here for justice. And we have to allow it to take its course in the way that we expect it to be taken in this country,
Agreed.
and not put other things on top of it. Julie, thank you very much. Scottie Nell, thank you very much. We'll see where this goes. It's going to be with us for quite a while.